Boom, there we go. Hello, hello, happy Wednesday. Happy last week of July. I cannot believe that this month has gone so fast. Let me just make sure I am good. You don't see the glare. Y'all just work through the glare, but I'm so happy to bring you today our membership kickback. I get an opportunity to do these twice a month with our members in the Explorers Club, where we get to talk a little bit about some themes around the month. If you haven't been following us this month, we've been talking about testing and labels. And if you want to be sure to get those replays, you can join the membership crew. We'll talk more about that as it goes along. But today, specifically, we're talking about, do you need to know about cannabis to get into the industry? So I'm so happy that I'm able to bring this to you today. If you aren't familiar with our live streams, we're using an amazing platform called StreamYard. So if you happen to be watching us live, your comments will show up here on the screen. So today, like I said, we will be talking about if you really need to know about cannabis to get into the industry. You may see me glance down at my notes, but just know I gotta make sure I'm giving you all the information I prepared for today. I'll be around 30 minutes. I don't like to hold you. It's summertime. The world is open just for a little bit, right? Still be safe, all the things. But so today I'm just hoping I can be able to provide you this information quickly to help you reach your goals. Right. All right. So if you are familiar with who I am Keisha. I'm the CEO of Explore Maryland Cannabis. I started this amazing organization 2 years ago after realizing that there wasn't a connected community here in Maryland, among other things. And in those 2 years, I've been able to build an informed and connected cannabis community here in Maryland that I'm super proud of. If you happen to be watching via the replay, be sure to drop a comment and let me know that you're watching via replay. And if you're watching live, let us know where you are from. I'm so excited that we are able to connect with you all. I know our members are here watching live. I know I've got some folks here watching live. Again, this is the July membership kickback where we're able to talk freely about different topics as it relates to cannabis in Maryland. So if you're just joining us today, I'm talking about if you really need to know about cannabis to get into the industry, because a lot of folks talk about how you need to know certain things and you got to go to school, blah, 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 blah. I'm here to talk about all the things. So before I forget, shout out to our Explorers Club. They get this content twice a month in the membership portal. You can find out more about our membership by joining the membership crew. So I've got a little ad I'm going to play for you all, and I want you to check it out. Here we go. All right. So that is just a little bit of information about what our members are all about, what we're doing over in the Explorers crew. I'm so excited that we are on our 100 member run right now. So our Founders Club, they get lifetime access to all of these opportunities that we have, including our events, special deals on merch. So be sure to check out the Explorers Club. And that's all I've got to say about them. I love what they do over there. So come on in and join us. Shout out to Mike. I see you watching for Upper Marlboro. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be talking about if you really need to know about cannabis to get into the industry. So let's talk. Let's chat. The first question we hear outside of, do I really need to know about cannabis to get into the cannabis industry, is you got to be a patient, right? And I am here to debunk that myth. There are a lot of opportunities that you can have in the cannabis industry, specifically the cannabis workforce, where you don't have to be a patient. So I'm going, wrong. A lot of things that you can do that are non-plant touching, like working as a front desk receptionist, working in security, even inventory control. You don't necessarily have to be a credentialed patient. Now, your access gets greater as you become a patient, and we're talking specifically in the Maryland medical industry, but you don't have to be a patient. A lot of times people don't necessarily want to become patients because you're then putting yourself on record, but there are a lot of benefits to being a patient in a state regulated market. And one of the things that you don't have to do is be a patient to work in the industry. So we are debunking that myth first and foremost. Not only do you have opportunities inside the industry, but you can create your own opportunities, just like I'm doing with Explore Maryland Cannabis. You can start a registered ancillary business or an ancillary business. If you happen to have a great idea about a product or tool that will help a patient or a cannabis consumer, if you got a great idea for a high thoughts journal or a glass tip or some type of merchandise, you're already in the industry. We have to remember that while cannabis has been around for hundreds or thousands of years, the industry, and specifically the industry in Maryland, is so small that you are literally at the foundational point of getting your empire started. So we're busting that first myth. You do not have to be a patient to be an active participant in the cannabis industry, specifically the cannabis workforce. Now, the second myth that we hear when people say, do I gotta know about cannabis to be in the industry, is that you have to go to school. Now, take these glasses off because they're distracting me. You don't have to go, right? You don't have to go. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to. But there are a lot of opportunities that are available to you by participating in the educational system. And Maryland has a dynamic cannabis homegrown education system built around it that's still really evolving. So one, on a certificate level, you have institutions like MUIH that's offering post-baccalaureate certificates. Also, you've got community college classes, just like the one at Anne Arundel Community College, that helps you prepare to be a business owner in this industry. And then we've got our main institutions that are doing big degree seeking opportunities. There's the Masters of Science, Cannabis Science and Therapeutics, that they just graduated their first cohort this past May. So there are traditional avenues of getting the education that you need, especially if you think that you have to go to school. But then there's also the flip side. Here at Explore Maryland Cannabis, we offer community-based education that helps you get prepared to stay employed and be employable in the industry, which is just one way for you to break into the cannabis workforce. You can also do your due diligence. One of the great things about the Maryland public library system, and we're talking about the statewide system, all 23 counties plus Baltimore City, because there's interlibrary loans and things like that, is that there is a huge circulation around cannabis products. So whether it's how to make your own cannabis edibles. I was just in the library yesterday where I saw different titles, by some local authors and also some national authors. I talked to our membership earlier last month in a kickback about how, I'm looking for this book here, but the Cannabis Manifesto by Steve D'Angelo completely changed my outlook as it relates to being intentional about cannabis use. So whether it's being intentional about starting a business so that others can see the pathway that you laid for them, or just being intentional about that regular sesh that you have after decompressing from a long day. Those are just some of the self-education that you can do right at home without investing a dollar. But if you got a little money to spend or some FAFSA to fill out, you can check out some of our degree-seeking institutions, our certificate programs, and our community colleges like Anne Arundel County. Shout out to Professor Shad. He's got a great B2, 27, 228. Oh, I always get those numbers wrong, but that class is actually enrolling in September. So if you're looking to just kind of get your feet get your feet wet and get started in the cannabis industry, that's a great place to start. You can also start with us, getting that direct line right into the industry. So, are y'all following along? Are you getting where I'm going? You don't necessarily have to be a patient to get into the cannabis industry. And you also don't have to have formal schooling. But one of the great things about Maryland is that we have so many opportunities here where you can get that dynamic schooling for what you want to do, right? So those are the two myths. If you have any questions while you're watching live, be sure to drop them. I've had folks send in some particular questions that relates to being employed in the cannabis industry, which I'll answer later. But I want to make sure that I give you this last myth. Before I give you this last myth, though, I want you to know this. Every skill, every project, every example that you've placed energy into will prepare you for this industry. Cannabis is no different from retail, which is no different from alcohol and tobacco, which is no different from healthcare, which is no different from education. There's a system. There is a path that you can play, pay to play or not. You can get your elbows dirty and grind up to the top. But at the end of the day, it's an industry. And the skill set that you have combined with your passion will get you much further than any type of educational program or any network that you've built. Because like I mentioned in the beginning, this is still a very new industry, right? Folks know each other. Folks are doing things with each other, deals with each other. There's MSOs coming into play, multi-state operators, which are coming into play into the state, but it's still new and it's still federally illegal. So there's only so much Geppettos that can operate in this industry without the folks who are working really hard to get to where they want to be, to get there. So don't forget that and don't get discouraged. Our last myth is that cannabis is not a real career. Well, we've got plenty of data around that. Maryland, one being a almost $1 billion industry of revenue and profits coming in to the state through cannabis. Just right there. A career has to have some type of sustainability. It has to have some type of system. One of the things that deemed cannabis an actual industry here in Maryland was earlier last year. Goodness gracious, 2020 was almost a blip. And I know that we all have had things about that. But when cannabis was deemed essential in Maryland, it not only validated the medicinal need for cannabis, but also the fiscal need for cannabis. Because not only were businesses operating, and everyone knows that Maryland is always open for business, but it also allowed folks who may have thought cannabis was just something to do while you were bored or, a gateway into something bigger, was so much more impactful than just, the arrest records that Maryland still has and holds, or even just the transformative benefits that come from medicinal cannabis. I had the opportunity to sit on a panel with State Senator Jill P. Carter and Pastor Heber Brown both from Baltimore City around the stigma that is in the faith community around cannabis. And one of the things that allowed the pastor to really kind of honor this conversation was one, track and field star Sha'Carri Richardson was recently removed from the Olympic trials team or the 2021 Tokyo Olympics relay team because cannabis was found in her system during testing. There's one. So that's national coverage. And then also he saw that some of his elders, the seniors in the church, were using a little bit of CBD every so often. So you have to think about the impact that cannabis has made just in Maryland, not even just nationwide. There's a conversation that's happening, and we have an opportunity to really help break the stigma. And speaking of stigma, go ahead and tell us if you're Team Indica or Team Sativa. I am definitely a Team Sativa gal, but I think there's a time and place for both of them. If you're watching live, go ahead and drop either a smoke cloud or a smiley face. If you happen to be watching the replay, go ahead and let us know at this point that you're watching and where you land. So, outside of the billions of dollars that Maryland is slated to make and the essential nature that cannabis was deemed here in Maryland, I could say that saying that cannabis is a not real career just kind of invalidates the impact that it's made in our community in just the last year. So if you are debating, if someone is telling you, oh, this is a fad, oh, it's just going to go fly by night. No, baby, it's here to stay. And if it's something that you want to be a part of, you have the opportunity to hop right in. So real quick, in case you missed it, in case you're just joining in, today's kickback is all about whether or not you need to know about cannabis to get into the industry, right? There are a lot of folks who, may think that you got to be a patient or that you need formal education. We are here demystifying the myths. And today's kickback, of course, is brought to you by the Explorers Crew, our membership program here. They get this touch point twice a month around a particular topic in cannabis. This month, we talked about testing and labels. Next month, we're talking about cannabis education in Maryland. So if you want to learn more about some of the programs, if you want to learn more about how to keep your cannabis knowledge up and viable to stay employable and get employed in the workforce, then go ahead and join the membership. Or if you just want to know the difference between linalool and limonene, come on over. We got folks that'll help you out with that. All right, that is the bulk of the presentation. If you happen to have any questions, I'm going to go ahead and answer two that were sent in to me, but go ahead, drop them in the chat. You can see Mike is all up in here. He's team both. I hear you. I'm absolutely team both. Absolutely team both. But go ahead, if you have any questions about getting started in the cannabis industry, now is your time to drop the questions. The first question that I got in our inbox was about returning citizens. There are a lot of folks who are talking social equity. There are a lot of folks talking about whether or not, opportunities are available for folks who have been impacted by the failed war on drugs, and making sure that that is something that is a tool used consistently, yada, 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 yada. So if you've been following along, there are a lot of organizations who talk about expungement. There's National Expungement Week that happens in September, but there's also some laws on the books that don't allow certain returning citizens. And when I say returning citizens, I'm talking about individuals who have been incarcerated for cannabis or have cannabis convictions on their records. There have been different methods and ways to be able to help alleviate those things. Great. We should not stop there. I think that with the 2020 General Assembly coming up in January, it's a really great time to talk about legalization and also what type of social equity opportunities we're offering to those who are returning back to this new legalized market. There are opportunities outside of plant touching, and I hate using the word non-plant touching and plant touching because it further creates that stigma. Like, I'm not allowed to touch the plant, but you are, and people who touch the plant may necessarily, it's a whole thing. So we'll talk about that more. But as far as our returning citizens, be sure to check out National Expungement Week, which happens in September. And of course, join all of the calls for advocacy as we ramp up for 2022's General Assembly. Folks have been talking. They've been talking about ballot measures, and there's another workforce group. I've been saying workforce a lot. Work group that's been put together to kind of explore what that looks like. We're tired of the exploring with legalization. We see what Virginia, the Commonwealth of Virginia, has done. We've seen what New Jersey has done, Connecticut, New York, Georgia, all of these different places. I mean, even states like Oklahoma that have really great social equity programs. Oakland just really did a great thing that I'm hoping that we can bring over to Maryland, which allows social equity folks who applied on a license. They came together, operators and a few other community organizations. They bought a building, and they are dedicated to training returning citizens and all of those who want to be a part of the cannabis industry, keeping that ecosystem going. So shouts out to them. Can't wait to see something like that on the East Coast. But as far as our returning citizens, there needs to be more protections. There also needs to be more conversation around getting those expungements removed and not just relying on the national conversation. And so the second question I got was around where to start. So I know I talked a little bit about some of the books. I'm looking at the books on the bookshelf, which I should have grabbed before I started. But just some resources to help get you started. Let me grab these books and I'll be right back. Wasn't too far. Oh, all right, here we go. Wasn't too far, but now my camera's doing weird stuff. So like I said, that the Maryland library system has a great circulation as it relates to cannabis resources. So first things first, there is an Investing in Cannabis book for dummies, which, a lot of folks are talking about cannabis on the Canadian market and how it's trading. This is a great place to start if you're looking to learn about investing. The second title, the one that I talked about, literally changed what my perception of cannabis was, is the Cannabis Manifesto. That's also in circulation. A New Paradigm for Wellness. This is the third one. This is actually a local author, Patricia C. Fryer. She is a doctor here in the region. And then last but certainly not least, there is Deshita Dawson's How to Seed in the Cannabis Industry for Professionals. And this is a really great tool if you are just jumping into the industry. Of course, we can never forget about our Get in Gear guides, Cannabis Careers in Maryland. If you're looking to jumpstart your cannabis career here in Maryland, the Get in Gear guides is available. It's digital. We're working on a second edition to launch in September, August. Stay tuned for that. But of course, $10 will get you your own copy of how to really get in gear and get yourself situated and placed in the best predicament for industry work here in Maryland. So here we go. Got another question. Can you go over the do's and don'ts concerning LinkedIn? I love LinkedIn. One of the things that you just off the break should not do is treat LinkedIn like any other social network. I'm gonna leave this question up. You should not treat LinkedIn like any other social network, specifically Facebook. So you don't want to go posting super personal information on LinkedIn. That's not quite the model. But if you have any professional wins or achievements, places to toot your own horn where your grandma might not necessarily get why a certificate in diversity management and training is important, but your colleagues and coworkers from your current and previous positions will. I would say don't treat LinkedIn like Facebook, but do treat it like a place to toot your own horn. I also think that you should use LinkedIn as the number one tool for your job search, your networking search, building a business search, building a team search, because you don't necessarily have to go through the fluff of baby pictures and birthdays. I always say baby pictures and birthdays. That is Facebook. LinkedIn, you're getting professional accolades and promotions. So I love LinkedIn for a place to kind of, check out what other folks are doing in the industry in my region, outside of my region. Also looking at companies that may be hiring. I keep a strong eye on Vireo Health, which is now Green Goodness Holdings, all of their properties that they've acquired, name changes, some of the research that they're doing. The Evermore Cannabis Company, they were just featured in a local magazine, their executive team. So keeping up with what's going on, I feel like LinkedIn is a great place to stay on top of what's happening in Maryland cannabis and also cannabis nationwide. And it's also a great way to get your stories broken. A lot of journalists comb through the threads on LinkedIn. They generate a lot of their stories through LinkedIn based on the information that you provide them. So who knows, your next opportunity or your next news story or feature could be from the connections that you make on LinkedIn. So I love LinkedIn for that, but I also know that there are limits. And with anything, you should make sure that you have certain boundaries and systems around it. So I hope that was a good answer for, the do's and don'ts concerning LinkedIn. We also have a LinkedIn training if you are looking to really kind of get started on LinkedIn, know where to start, know where to look. That's available to our members. And also at the end of this month will be in an amazing bundle package for you, along with job search and all of the other programming that we offered this year. So let me check my time. We're 26 minutes in. I'm right on time. Those are the resources. I'll make sure to put those in the description once this video is over. I just want to make sure that before I go, I talk to you about what we have coming up. I'm super excited. We just had our first sunset sesh at West Covington Park. Super, super success. We were able to do some painting, talking about the industry, and really kind of connecting, because before the world shuts down this winter, because it's going to happen, I want to be able to make sure that folks really remember what community is. I think being behind the screen has really kind of dulled our perception of, hey, hello, how are you? But see, I'm getting my words stumbled up here now. Like, being able to have an open conversation with someone without the trying to figure out what you could get from them, or just, being like this for so long, you have no idea, that tactile feedback, that the clues, the size, the just all of that comes with interaction. If that's your thing, that might not be necessarily your thing, but that's one of the goals and intentions with all of our in-person events before they say we can't meet outside any longer. First things first, I'm so excited that we have our Battle of the Buds coming up. This first one is around tug of war and tie-dye. It's August 7th from 11 to 4. Go ahead and join us for a day of competitive fun as we give back. So we will be giving back to the community and also connecting with others here in cannabis. You can come for free. If you just want to check it out, see what's going on, holler at some folks, bring your homies, bring your kids to come play. There's a playground here. You are more than welcome. But if you are like me, and you are ready to get down, be competitive, bring your friends, form a team. It's $5 to play. You can have another option as another ticket if you want to have a lunch. But if you just want a lunch, you can do that as well. We are just really excited to be able to bring you this in person. So it is August 7th, Battle of the Buds, tug of war and tie-dye. Be located at Jessup Dorsey Park here in Maryland, close to Arundel Mills, if you're familiar. We will be doing tug of war and other adult field day games to kind of bring back that sense of community. And shout out to my friend Sarah, who did tie-dye right before we all went down. This is my living room t-shirt. I'm hoping to have a collection of tie-dye, because I've heard tie-dye is in, y'all. Tie-dye is a whole thing. So if you're free August 7th, which is next Saturday, come on through. The weather looks like it's going to be great. We'll be out grilling, having fun, chilling, doing all the things. Next up, of course, I just mentioned it. I talked about our sunset sessions, which let's see what it's doing here. Boom. It will be back August 22nd, not on a Saturday this month. It'll be on a Sunday from 7 to dusk. Once again, at West Covington Park, you can come catch the sunset and connect with fellow cannabis community members here in Maryland. We'll be talking about our Cannabis Explorers project, which is a little bit of what we were doing last week. But of course, this one is free. It's open to all. You're looking to bring back that sense of community. You happy to be outside? Come on outside. My camera says it wants to be evil. So that is all I have. I'm going to be ending right on time at the 30-minute mark. I hope you all got great information today. You're fully prepared. Here we go. Maybe. All right. We're just going to keep rolling with it. I hope you all got a lot of information today and that you are fully prepared for entering to the cannabis industry, knowing that you don't necessarily have to be a patient. You don't really have to go to school. And it is a real career, right? So I am thankful that you all tuned in. Shout out to Mike. Always, always, always. My camera is just going to be evil right now. But until then, be sure you can get this on a twice a month basis inside our membership portal by joining the membership. We also hope to see you at an in-person or virtual event soon. August is coming. And any questions, any comments, more about our events, you can go to exploremarylandcannabis.eventbrite.com or to our website. I was hoping that my camera would have came back by now. It didn't. All right. I'll see you soon. Peace.